What's up, y'all? It's your man, Stephen Bardo, coming at you with another edition of Bardo's Breakdown. Hope you guys are doing well. My heart is full. I went back to Carbondale this past weekend. Got a chance to celebrate my mother's 82nd birthday. My brother and sister and other family members are there. Man, I had a blast. And then my sister's birthday is today. So happy birthday, Helen Levins Bardo. I love you. We had a great time. Um, Went over to SIU Arena and met up with Javon Mayman, assistant for SIU. I was going over to see Scott Nagy, uh, the new head coach at SIU, but I missed him. But it was good to go back home. I always feel rejuvenated when I go back home. So I'm fired up to get going on today's Bardo's Breakdown show. Um, we got a good one. Brandin Knight, the Rutgers assistant, will be joining us in an interview. Then we'll talk about Michigan State's Grind Week. It's a unique week that they do. I think this is the fourth annual Grind Week for them. We'll go over our last set of players in Bardo's top 50. And then I've got kind of a tribute to a gentleman who passed away unexpectedly this past week as part of the Michigan family. And then I'll take your questions. So got a really interesting show today. I'm glad you guys are joining, and I hope you enjoy it. Ryan, run the intro, my man. In 3, 2, 1. What's going on, y'all? It's your man, Stephen Bardo, coming at you with another edition of Bardo's Breakdown, a special edition, because we have an associate head coach on here. We usually have just assistant coaches, but we stepped up today with Rutgers associate head coach Brandin Knight. Coach, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me on your show.
No, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a while. We've been talking about this, but glad we were able to connect. For our viewers, Coach, I know your background, two-time All-American at Pittsburgh, member of the Hall of Fame. Can you share with our viewers how special your playing career was and how you were able to transition from playing into coaching?
Well, I think just for me, the opportunity to play in college was special. I'd never, had thought of or actually dreamt of the opportunity, to grow into the kind of player that I did. I was just happy to get a scholarship. And in the last hour, Pittsburgh, a guy by the name of Troy Weaver, he was the guy who he found me at a camp. He said I was the only guy who's playing defense and passing the ball to my teammates. And that's kind of how I got a scholarship offer. So to come from there to being inducted into the Hall of Fame at the University of Pittsburgh, it was a great measure for me just because it wasn't something that I had, I hadn't sought out or was ever like destined to be that or become that.
Well, you come from such a successful family. Your dad played and coached at Seton Hall, then became an athletic director. Your brother Brevin was an outstanding player at Stanford in a 12-year NBA career. What was it like growing up in that household, being the younger brother and trying to hold your own?
Well, the funny thing is football was my first love. So I really was playing basketball because that was the only sport that was going during the spring and the summer. So I kind of just played, and and for me it was like, but my passion and my love was football first. So up until my senior year in high school, I had played football, and that was kind of the sport that I was better in. And so like the basketball, it was because it was something that I was doing for like 6 months. There wasn't, my skill level probably wasn't at the level that it should have been, just because, like I said, for half of the year I was playing football, and it's just completely different mentality.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And then, Coach, did you get a break to get into? How did you get into the coaching side of it?
You said, did I get a break? Yeah, I did. I got a break. I had a compound tib fib fracture, and
Oh,
it sidelined me and put me in a wheelchair. Actually, so for 3 surgeries, it took 3 surgeries, and to get everything, back to as close to normal as possible. And so for me, that was kind of the eye-opening experience that was like, okay, you got to do something else. And so that break actually happened. It was a play. Corey Alexander was going for a layup. He went up for a layup. I come down, snap my leg in half, and the rest is history. Like the crazy thing was that week I was just waiting to clear waivers because I was probably gonna sign with the Jazz, where Troy Weaver was a scout at the time, or I was going to be my brother's backup in Charlotte. So that's
wow.
kind of what ended my playing career, and that's how I ended up going to Pittsburgh. And Jamie Dixon, he fought me on it. I begged him to let me be the video coordinator at Pittsburgh, and that's kind of how I broke into coaching 18 years ago.
So did Coach Dixon see something else in you, Coach, to try to dissuade you from getting into the business? What was that all about?
I think just sometimes coming from playing and being so young at the time, I think he wanted to make sure that that I was done playing, that I had gotten it all out of my system. And he's like, Brandin, I can't pay you like a real salary. I think my first year I made like $17,000 or $18,000. And so like he was like, I can't pay you a real salary. Like you're just coming from kind of playing professional basketball, and most guys don't want this role. Like, and at the time, video coordinating was film in real time. So I'm there with a tape deck and press play, record, stop, so a few years later, I was like, man, I broke in just probably like 3 years too early, because I was doing actual film, whereas like 3 years later, some of my guys were pushing the button and sending the whole season, and in a matter of minutes, whereas I would be sitting there, and people don't realize this, but video at that time was real time. So you have to actually sit there and watch, if you're recording the game, you'd have to sit there and actually do it. So it's, I think Jamie kind of was like, I don't know if he's built for this yet, former player. I'm not sure if he'll be ready to take on like that kind of challenge, but it was good for me because it gave me, a great look into what coaching really is, and it gave me an opportunity to study the game from a different perspective. So I'll cherish that, that opportunity, not only for him giving me the chance to get in the business, but also what it taught me.
See, and the what I like, Coach, what you just said is that you really got it out of the mud. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, to
Yeah.
go from the NBA to being a video coordinator before the digital situation and taking over that aspect of the game. That's really paying your dues. That says a lot right there.
I tell people this is a funny story. Like film exchange, we would actually have to send out letters to all of the different teams and just ask them, like, can we get a copy? And if they would say yes, so now I got to put a tape and a return address, prepare an envelope for
Oh,
them just
wow.
to send it out to them, so they'll have a tape. Because like I said, this is, again, it's real time. Like somebody has to make a copy of it. So in order to make everybody else give you the copy, it's like you had to make sure that they already had a tape, they already had the return address. And again, like it made me appreciate, like, the position, and also too, like what went into it in order to try to be good at it, or just to have an advantage.
No, you know what? It's all starting to come together, Coach, in terms of your background in football, being tough, humbling yourself to take that position, and then now you find yourself as an associate head coach at, to me, one of the most exciting times in Rutgers basketball history. Let's transition to that a little bit. You guys, man, this incoming class, we're going to talk about Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, Lathan Somerville, Brian Dortch, and Dylan Grant. I mean, you guys got long, athletic, and talented across that front line. If you don't mind, can you just touch on each of these players and what you think, what you've seen so far this summer, and what you think they can bring?
Well, actually, I'll go from starting with Dylan Grant. Like, Dylan Grant is high energy, great athlete, just kind of scratching the surface, like from a standpoint of offensively, he can shoot the ball. He has the ability to put it down on the floor, but he's one of those guys that just does every single thing that you ask, and he's finding his niche, So right now, his offensive rebounding ability has been something that showed up like on a consistent basis in practice. He defends and has, like I said, they play with great length and great energy. Bryce Dortch, very similar. He is a little bit different in the sense that Bryce is high energy, can guard 1 through 5. He can switch in every screen coverage. He's been able to guard 2s and 3s and then go and bang with guys in the post. So he brings like a different dynamic. Like, he's more of a driver and playmaker than Dylan Grant, but both of them are long, athletic, and like in transition and on the glass, on the offensive glass, both of them, they can really make an impact. I can really see, some great things coming out of them. Lathan Somerville has dropped about 20 pounds. And he works his tail off every day. All of these guys, that's the one thing about the entire class, the entire freshman class, as well as a lot of the newcomers. All of them have been gym rats. But Lathan is, like I said, he's brought a different dimension, and that he can play out on the perimeter, but he is physical, like to the point where it's like, okay, we got to, kind of dial back. It's easier to dial some of that back because you just got to teach him how to play without fouling and a little less physicality, because guys will flop. Guys will use his physicality against him, and so just teaching him how to play, how to defend without fouling, how to defend in screen coverage. Those are all things that he's improved significantly on in these last 6 or 7 weeks just being here. So, and then obviously Ace and Dylan, they're very talented, but I think the one thing that people will be surprised to know about them is they are probably 2 of the most humble kids when it comes to just like being a part of the team, doing team things, just every single aspect of it. Like, they've been a part of everything that we're doing. Their teammates, the other side of that is we've had some of the older guys, kind of tell them, kind of give them the ability to be the leaders, be kind of the go-to guys, but also too, like, the older guys look at them as like, okay, we're their protectors as well too. So I think there's a combination of we have some veterans that are very selfless. PJ Hayes, as well as just Zach Martini. Both of those, they're 2 transfers, 5th-year guys, one from Princeton, other from San Diego. Like, they just have a great mindset. Kid Jordan Durkak has great. He has a great way about him, and Jeremiah, Jamichael Davis, Emmanuel, those guys that are returning from last year. All of those guys have just ingratiated the young guys, and they've been making them feel a part of everything that we do. So it's not like they're these guys over there, and then there's these guys over there, and okay, the freshmen, the incoming class is Ace and Dylan, and it's like, no, it's Rutgers, Rutgers University, and that's how they carry it. So For us, it's a breath of fresh air because it's not like we have to force it. We don't have like cliques on the team. So you see guys, we eat together after every practice, and we kind of try to take away the no phones. So we all interact, and we only have a short period. And with each team now, every year, you don't know which guys you're gonna have for the next year. So
That's
it's
right.
like for me, everyone is talking about the season. I'm like, man, I'm embracing August 7th. We have practice in an hour or so, and like every day that we get to spend with these guys together is, it's kind of a blessing, and we just try to embrace it. Coach Smoke, he does some good things with each of the guys. They have to come in and write something about their teammates on the board. You know what I mean? So, and it's funny just what guys pick up, but they get to learn each other, and we're trying to become connected in a short period of time. So that's why I say it's just like I'm embracing the class, embracing all of them, the seniors, the transfers, the freshmen, our returners. It's just, you embrace the moments that we have with each other.
Man, I tell you what, with Ace and Dylan coming in, it's got to be lit out there. I mean, the level of excitement and anticipation for this season has got to be the highest since you've been there. How do you manage those expectations and keep all the guys on the team kind of level headed?
Well, it's always a challenge, and the challenge in it is just like you said. Each individual is impactful, and they're essential to this team. It's obvious just from a fan perspective. We call a spade a spade. Like uh, everyone is excited, and those are the first two names that get mentioned. For us as a staff, like and even for those two players, like not placing all of the responsibility of us being good on them is important. It's going to be their first time, going on the road and playing a Big Ten game. It's going to be their first time playing in Big Ten tournament. It's going to be their first preseason game. Everything is going to be a first for them. So it's like, you hope that some of these veteran guys that have been here, and then guys who have just been in college basketball in itself, they'll give them a glimpse of what it'll look like, and they can match both their talents and their abilities and present them on the floor in a positive way where it helps us all be successful. But like the part that we do worry about a lot sometimes is just that, like, it's Ace and Dylan and the rest of those guys, and it's like, it's the way things are, the way social media works, everything is real time. So it's like, those two guys need other guys on the floor to be successful. The other guys who are going to play on their team need them to be successful. So just getting that message across to everyone, that's the goal, and that we can all be successful just based on how the year it ends. The
Yep.
outcome of this season and the success of this season is going to be determined on what we say about this team next April.
There you go. There you go. Let's take a look at some of your transfers coming in. You mentioned them briefly. Jordan Deercack. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Tyson A. Cuff, PJ Hayes, and Zach Martini. The thing that I noticed about three of the four guys here, Coach,
Mm-hmm.
Jordan, PJ, and Zach can shoot the leather off the rock. And Tyson can shoot. I don't think he shoots it at quite the clip that these other guys do from three. Can you touch on each of these players and what you expect their roles to be this season?
Well, I'll say this, like Jordan, first off, just talking about him, he's a physical presence. Like he's a downhill guy, believe it, he can score points, but like his thing has been he's a playmaker, like he can get to the basket, like I call him, he's like our football player playing basketball because he
Okay.
loves contact. Like he's from the old school. Like I told him, I said, you just probably um uh years, I guess I would say, behind your times or ahead of your time, because for us it just like some of the physicality that he brings on a regular basis, I have to tell him, like, you're gonna foul out. The Big Ten refs will make sure that you're sitting on the bench quickly. But it's just because he's a competitor and he's tough, he's hard nosed on defense, and he doesn't back down from anyone. So he was a great addition for us. Tyson Acuff, believe it or not, like Tyson Acuff really, really shoots the ball. Now, sometimes, like, the one thing that happens to you when you're a scorer, you're asked to take, some shots that probably, in your every team's game plan. What I mean? So he would take some difficult shots at times. The great part about it for us that we learned quickly with him, before he suffered his foot injury, was that for a guy that averaged points the way that he did and the volume scoring that he had done in the past, like, he did not play like that at all for us. Like, he was a floor spacer. He made plays. He got everybody else involved, and he's a leader. Like, he leads with his voice. He's positive. Like some of the young guys, he pushes them as far as, like, their reps. Like, no nonsense from a standpoint of like, never complain in practice, fouls, anything like that. And even now, with a guy being on the side, like, he's very involved with just telling guys, like, how they should be. So he's the vet of the group, and he carries that, But also, too, I said, for a guy that got 23 a game, like, he does know how to put the ball in the basket,
Okay.
PJ Hayes is a big time shooter, quick release. He was kind of what we were yearning for. He's much like kind of how Cam Spencer was, and, like, he's got that same competitive nature. He's fiery, he's tough, he'll compete. People will say, like, he can't defend, he can't do these things. Everything that you say he can't do, like, he's going to try to prove to you that he can do it. So that's the beauty of it. Like, we didn't just get a shooter. Like, we knew he could really shoot the ball, but, like, the best thing is that we got a lot more than just a shooter. He's a competitor. He puts it down a little bit, but I keep telling him he's not the athlete that he thinks he is. But he won't. His fiery, competitive nature is never lost in that. And then the last guy, Zach Martini, is like, I call him, he's like your consummate pro. He's going to be great in anything he does. Like, his approach to everything is professional. It's mature. Like, he is a leader in the locker room. Like, he's selfless. Like, all of the things that you would ask a leader to be, like, Zach embodies and embraces all of those characteristics. So, like, I love that we got a group of guys who I think can help us on the floor, but I think also, too, they'll help us in the locker room mentality wise, just from a mindset and how they go about approaching their business.
And you've got, three key guys that are returning that you're going to lean on. I'm making the assumption that you're going to expect a step up, a jump from each of these guys. Can you talk about them as well? Jeremiah Williams, Jermichael Davis, and Emmanuel Ogbole.
Well, first, all three of them have had great summers. J. Mike put on actually about 17 pounds this summer.
Wait, hold up.
Yeah.
J. Mike put on 17 pounds?
Yeah, he came back. He was when we started the summer, he was about 164. He's now right at 181, and he's been staying there, and he's put on, and it's all muscle.
Wow.
And so he's really hit the gym hard. His focus has been there. It's been great. He's been leading the team. He's been helping the new guys get acclimated and get adjusted. But, like, he's another guy. He and Jeremiah, they have great mentalities. They're great with their teammates. They're great with bringing other guys along. Both of them, like, they have groups that have gotten connected with them that they go in the gym with on a regular basis. So, we expect those things. Jeremiah is just Jeremiah. He's got the greatest personality of any college kid I've ever been around. Jeremiah can operate in any age group, whether it's, you could be talking about basketball from the 80s and the 70s. Jeremiah will have something to add to it. He's kind of like the old school guy, and I always say we think he's a lot older. Like, we think he's like 24, 25. That's kind of how he carries himself, but he's freshly 22. You know what I mean? So he's a young guy in that sense, and he's a leader in every sense of the word, and he kind of just takes care of the entire team. And then Manny, I call him Little Manny, although he's probably the strongest man in the league right now. But Manny, when you see him, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. He's taking huge steps, and he's back to being his athletic self and running the floor and getting up and down. And he's just a great personality, another guy that's great in the locker room. And all of these guys have been helping each other, which is the most important thing.
No, one of the benefits, Coach, for me doing these interviews is that I get excited, man, because the Big Ten has been a gauntlet, but this year with Oregon, Washington, UCLA, and USC coming in with their different styles and the way that things are going to adjust, what's been your overall approach or your thoughts on the conference expansion?
I mean, it's going to be challenging, So when people ask about what your out of conference schedule is like and who you're going to play, it's like, trust me, the Big Ten will never be short of great opponents on the schedule. And for me, it's just, I'm excited to see those other programs play because, just in scouting, it's Mick. I'm familiar with some of the things he used to do because I competed against him for a long time.
Oh, that's right.
At Cincinnati and the Big East. So it's just like to get some of this new blood, in the league. The Big Ten has also been a dynamic league the last couple of years, just with some of the new coaches coming into the league. So Michigan will be different, I anticipate, this year. So just having these fresh faces coming to the league must be different, at SC. So I'm excited.
No, it's going to be coast to coast, literally from Los Angeles to Jersey and everywhere in between. The Big Ten will be present. Coach, is there anything that you want to share with your team that we didn't touch on?
No, I appreciate you having me. I'm excited for this year, and I always enjoy when you're coming into town. So I'm looking forward to it.
No, I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, now you understand why associate head coach Brandin Knight is one of the picks to be the next head coach at some Power 5 program, because he's got the goods. He understands his guys. And I hope you picked up on some of the terminology he was dropping throughout this interview. Coach, thanks so much for your time, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks again for having me, man. And anytime you want me on, I'm running. I'll be there.
Okay. I appreciate you.
All
hey,
right.
Let me turn my mic back on. So thank you so much to Rutgers associate head coach, Brandin Knight. Great interview, great insight on these guys. And, I hope you guys are understanding how important these interviews are. And that's why I wanted to do them. Last summer I would go and get some of the head coaches, and I think the head coaches are great. But when you've got guys like Brandin Knight or Nate Linzer at Nebraska, or Brian James at Northwestern, or Joe Crispin at Penn State, or Akeem Miskadeen at Michigan, or Tim Anderson at Illinois, and Brandon Brantley at Purdue, these guys give you different insight and to the players. And, from a former player's perspective, the assistant coaches know more about the players because it's just the dynamic on college teams, right? The head coach has to be the CEO. They have to overlook everything. But when you can get these associate head coaches and these assistant coaches, they can give you different insight. Kind of like they talked about Smoke, one of the assistant coaches at Rutgers, has players put things on the board about other players. That's team building. Those are very unique things that lend to guys getting to know one another quite quickly and it shows on the court. So thank you once again to Rutgers associate head coach Brandin Knight. Great job there. All right. Next up, I like to talk about Michigan State and what certain programs do that's a little unique. So Michigan State has what they call Grind Week, and I believe this was the 4th annual Grind Week. They go and they ask former greats, former players to come back to East Lansing and work out with the team and be around the current players. Think about this. If you've got Mateen Cleaves, Sam Vincent, Draymond Green, some of the newer guys, Xavier Tillman, Max Christie, Tyson Walker, all these guys have kissed the Spartan emblem at Breslin or, at Jennison Fieldhouse before the Breslin Center. There's a special connection when you bring former players back into your program and work out with current players. And so, we saw Michigan State was able to do that this past week. And the smile on Tom Izzo's face, you can go on X or Twitter and look up some of the footage that Michigan State put out. But I've known Coach Izzo for a long time. It's rare to see him smile as big as he did. He seemed like a kid, like he had, his sons or his nephews that were back in, they came back home. It's a special thing. It's something that they do every year. I wish that other programs around the country, not just Big Ten teams, programs that do it, because when you go through a process of being a Big Ten basketball player, that's a special process, right? I know that Big 12 program guys that played in the Big 12 feel the same way. SEC, all these different programs feel the same way. It's a special process to be a member of the Michigan State basketball program. And so to have these type of events and things, I just wanted to share some positivity on what they're doing and kind of give you all insight, whether you saw it or not, of how special these things are. Draymond Green is a very busy man with his own budding media empire and his professional basketball responsibility. He's a very busy man. And for these guys to take time, I don't know if all of them stayed all week, but maybe some of them came in. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. came in. It means something. It means something. So I just wanted to give love to the Michigan State Spartans and Tom Izzo for what they do in terms of bringing back their former players to connect with their current players and have that love affair that is Michigan State Spartan basketball. I dig it. All right. Moving on. This is the last grouping of the top 50 basketball players ever in Big Ten conference play. This is mine, right? Bardo's breakdown. First up, the great Bill Walton. 3 consecutive National Player of the Year awards. Let me say that again. 3 consecutive national, not Pac, it was Pac 8 then, not Pac 8 Player of the Year, National Player of the Year awards. 2-time national champion. He was part of an 88-game win streak and the first pick of the 1974 draft by the Portland Trail Blazers. NBA champion and NBA MVP, and we lost him earlier this year. Rest in power to Bill Walton, one of college basketball's greatest players ever, and a proud UCLA Bruin. Next up, Chris Webber of the Fab Five, consensus All-American, national runner-up twice. You guys remember they got to national championship games against Duke and North Carolina. Unfortunately, Chris had that incident with the timeout that Michigan didn't have that a lot of people point to them to the point that lost in the game. If you guys have followed Bardo's breakdown, you've heard me call basketball games like that are never decided by one play. There's too many possessions in a game. I refuse to put that on Chris Webber to tarnish his that might tarnish his illustrious college and professional career. And I know Chris personally. He's a great dude. First pick in the 1993 NBA draft by the Magic, a 5-time NBA All-Star. And I tell you what, I was really surprised one of his Sacramento Kings teams didn't win the NBA finals. Kobe and Shaq, that game 7 at the Lakers was one of the best NBA games I have ever seen. I believe Peja Stojakovic, Vlade Divac, Chris Webber. I think Bibby was on that. Mike Bibby might have been on that team. But man, unbelievable pro career for Chris Webber, and a a legendary college career with Jalen Rose, Ray Jackson, Jimmy King, and Juwan Howard, an iconic group, and Chris Webber, one of the best players that ever played in the Big Ten Conference. A lot of people may not remember Christian Welp, a German player that came into Washington, was Pac-10, player of the year, Pac-10 freshman of the year, and 3-time first team all Pac-10. He was a 6th pick overall to the Sixers in 1987. Unfortunately, he died prematurely from a sudden heart attack. One of his sons, I believe, played at UC Irvine. Christian Welp, a 7-footer, was one of the statistical leaders when he finished his career as a Washington Husky. I think he played 3 years in the NBA, then he went overseas. I believe he was with a team from Germany that was a EuroLeague champion. So Christian Welp had a tremendous career in his own right with the Washington Huskies, in addition to his professional career. You Fighting Illini fans are very familiar with Darren Williams at Illinois. That team was undefeated till the last regular season game, lost on a last-second shot at Ohio State to keep them from an undefeated regular season. Pardon me. They get to the national championship game against North Carolina. And if the officials don't rob James Augustine of being able to play more than 9 minutes, I believe Illinois would have beaten North Carolina in that national championship game. Illinois had to shoot 43-point shots. I believe that is a NCAA championship game record. And they came up just short. An amazing group led by Darren Williams. And people really don't remember this. Darren Williams was the 4th leading scorer on that Illinois team, but the number 3 pick in the NBA draft. That's how impactful he was. 2-time All Big Ten first team, 2nd team All-American, national runner-up, gold medalist in 2008. He had a tremendous NBA career. 3-time All-Star and 2-time NBA first team selection. Darren Williams did it big. And then last but not least, I know Herb Williams, big fella from Ohio State, finished Ohio State career as their leading scorer at the time. He was the 2nd leading rebounder to Jerry Lucas, all Big Ten first team. He was All-American, played 20, ladies and gentlemen, played 20 seasons in the NBA, mostly with the Pacers, Mavs, and Knicks. I believe he had a year or 2 with the Raptors in there as well. Transitioned beautifully over to the coaching side and was a coach for decades in the NBA. Herb Williams, one of the Ohio State Buckeyes' greatest players ever. And that rounds out Bardo's breakdown, top 50 ever Big Ten players. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did putting it together. And thanks to my producer, Ryan, who came up with the great graphics. And, love bringing these lists to you guys. I know other people are doing top 50 players going up into the season of current players. I like to kind of do the historical thing because I think it helps some of our younger viewers get a sense of how rich the tradition is of Big Ten basketball and how accomplished some of these players were in the past that you may not hear about today. And then lastly, I got sad news from the Michigan Wolverine family. Greg Harden was a titan. He was a giant of a man. Was a track star back in the 70s for the Michigan Wolverines. He became a sports administrator. He was the mental coach for some of the greatest athletes in Michigan history. Tom Brady, Desmond Howard, Jalen Rose, among a few, were impacted by the influence of Greg Harden. I've got my own personal story where I got to know Greg. I went to Michigan and visited him in his office, and he challenged me. Like I'm sure he did all the athletes that he impacted. He challenged me. He said, "Why aren't you on national television? Why aren't you calling games at the highest level?" He said, "You have the talent. Why aren't you there?" And I gave him some BS excuse that because he caught me off guard, and I was a little, I was surprised by the question, but that was his nature. He wanted to get the best out of each and every person that he came in contact with. There are students, former students at Michigan that were not athletes that somehow got connected with Greg Harden, and he impacted their lives as well. So he was a Titan, tremendous member of the Michigan Wolverine family. He passed away suddenly this past week, and he will be greatly missed by everyone associated with Michigan Wolverine athletics or those that have come in contact with Greg Harden. Rest in power, Greg Harden. All right, I wanted to give that tribute to Greg. Powerful, powerful guy, man, and a loving man, and he will be sorely missed. All right, let's get to your questions. Yeah, Dory, I've communicated with Tim, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Because there's nothing to report as of right now. What's up, Ron Charles? Bardo, love the McKinney showed to you at the end of your interview gave me chills, and there was nothing fake about it. If you guys have not gone to Bardo Media on YouTube and seen the Billy McKinney interview that I posted last week, I believe it was last Thursday or Friday. Ron, thank you very much for that. It was the best interview I've ever done. It ain't even close. And I think Ron and those that have listened, the people that have commented, like awesome interview. It's the best I've ever done. Billy McKinney is one of the most dynamic people I've ever met, and that I'm proud to say that he's a friend of mine. The current mayor of Zion, Illinois, he got reelected the second go around by over 80% of the residents who voted in Zion. He's that impactful. I'll give you kind of a snippet so to give you some incentive to go and watch that video, that interview. Here's the mayor of Zion, Illinois, and residents will ride down the street and see Billy McKinney picking up trash. That's the type of dude he is. He did things in college at Northwestern that I was unaware of. He had to overcome some situations that Black men had to overcome during that time that he's forthcoming with in that interview. He's like a Forrest Gump of basketball. He has done almost anything and everything there is to do, and he is the current radio analyst for the Northwestern Wildcats. And how great is it for him to call games for his beloved Northwestern Wildcats? And this is the golden era of Wildcat basketball. It's never been better. So thank you, Ron, for bringing that up. And I encourage you all, I'll put the link in so that you guys go and check out this video because it's very, very impactful. And I guarantee you will not be sorry that you took the time to listen and watch this video. Thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. Good to hear from assistant coaches. Yeah, Ken, I agree, man, because they have different insight. They're not under as much pressure every time they come in front of a microphone. And I think I like to use Bardo's breakdown platform to give up and coming coaches a platform to showcase who they are. We want to see some of their personality as well. That's as important as them being able to recruit, being able to coach, what their personalities are like. How do they come across in an interview? Those types of things are very important. So I'm very grateful to the assistant and associate coaches that come on Bardo's breakdowns. Ken, thank you for that, man. Hoop Baller Scoop, Mateen Cleese is a great person to have on. He got social media reach out. I've had Mateen on here before, and I need to bring him back. He is the chief excitement officer for Matt Ishbia's mortgage company. It does a really good job. Carol, thank you. I appreciate it. Carol Paquette, tribe member. She's been rocking with Bardo's Breakdown from the inception and was a very good basketball player herself. Thank you, Carol. I appreciate it. I always appreciate the support. Okay, Ron says that Duke does grind week as well. They're yearly too. It's a who's who of NBA players. I can only imagine, Ron, all the great basketball players that have come through that program. That's got to be special. I wish they would kind of drip clips out like Michigan State has, though. It'd be great to see Grant Hill and Christian Laettner, David Henderson, Jay Billis, Elton Brand. I mean, I could rip off so many names. Johnny Dawkins of Duke greats. Tommy Amaker, that would probably come to that. So thanks for sharing that. Kid said, do you really want Draymond Green hanging around impressionable young players? Of course you do, Ken. Draymond does some stupid stuff. He does. He's got anger issues. There's no doubt about it. But you're not going to find a more fierce warrior. You're not going to find a guy who's got a photogenic memory. I've shared with you guys on Bardo's Breakdown a couple times when Draymond was playing. He was still at Michigan State. I'm walking in to shoot around. He was the first one there. Me and Tom Izzo were walking in. And the sports information director at the time, Matt Lawson. Matt's still, I think he's over football now because Mex is the basketball SID. But Matt Lawson comes in and says, hey, Draymond, I think he said, when does Illinois play Ohio State in the Big Ten schedule? Do you know Draymond sat there? He thought about it for 3 seconds, Ken, and he came up with a date, and he was correct. And that right there told me, oh, okay, this dude's going to make the NBA. Because there was question at the time when he was coming out of Michigan State, could he be an NBA player because they thought he was an undersized four. When I saw that display of him and his dedication to the game, that he wasn't just looking at Michigan State's schedule. He was looking at every team's schedule in the league. He knew the league schedule. He didn't have his phone. He didn't look at anything. He put his head down because he was concentrating, and he said the date, and he was correct. So you do want him around impressionable young players because it shows the dedication that he has to the game. Let's see. Bo, the Big Ten is tough every year. So I don't think this year is going to be any different. Carbondale's Connor Wheeler being hired at Drake University. I don't know about that. I have to check that out. Okay. Miguel says Kentucky does a sort of grind week thing when Calipari was there and Duke does it. So salute to MSU. Thank you, Miguel. Appreciate that. Yeah, Carol, I agree with you. I would love to be a part of something like that. It would be fun. I don't know how Brad feels about that. I don't know if he's, even aware of other programs doing that, but I'd love to be a part of that as well. But I think Chris Webber's college career is overlooked to me. Yeah, I think, Miguel, people like to crap on the Fab Five because they upset some people in the way that their swagger and all that. I agree with you. I think there were some things that people took a little bit too far. They didn't like the brashness of those guys. They didn't like the way they played. They didn't like their confidence. So I agree with you. He was a dog. He was a beast. I think he was a decade type player because the dude could handle like a guard. He was a big, but he had guard skills. And I think he was able to showcase that at the NBA level. So I agree with you. I don't think he gets enough credit. Doug, I think JYD Brent, I think Max Christie was there. I think that's what you're talking about. Um, yeah, Curtis, that could very well be the case. But my point is that it was a close game. And a lot of people point back to that particular play as the reason that Michigan lost the game or that Michigan wasn't intelligent enough to beat a team like North Carolina. I always thought there were some racial undertones involved in that. So you're talking specifics. I'm talking about the overall general theme of the way that they try to portray him as an unintelligent player because of that one singular play, which I think is horribly unfair to overshadow what he was able to accomplish, similar to what Miguel was just talking about. Doug Christie. Let's see. Who baller scoop? Give me your all-time starting 5 Michigan players. Chris Webber, Mike McGee, Cassie Russell, Trey Burke, Wow. There's a young no, not Manny Harris, but although he was tough. Boy, that's a good one. I can't get that 5th one in there. Cassie Russell, Mike McGee, Gary Grant, Chris Webber, and Trey Burke. What do you think, guys? Put your top 5 Michigan players of all time in there. Were you teammates with Herb Williams in Dallas? I remember him as a Mavs player mostly. Curtis, you got a heck of a memory, bro. Me and Walter Bond came in as free agents the half season that I had with the Mavericks, and Herb Williams was there. You got a great memory, man. It's funny, Curtis, that it reminds me of a story that it was in the summer and we were working out and we were playing pickup basketball. And so me and Walter were playing, and after everybody finished playing, you know, guys are getting this stuff together. They might be icing down, and guys are shooting the, you know what, right? So Herb Williams says, "Man, I know y'all are playing the Big Ten," and you know, me and Walter kind of like looked at him like, "Why? Why do you say that?" He said, "Because you guys set screens in pickup games." He said, "NBA guards don't screen bigs." He said, "So I know you guys played in the Big Ten." So it was kind of I think it was a compliment. I also think it was kind of a surprise to him because NBA guys at that time, they didn't sacrifice their bodies because bigs could flat out blast you. They could just come through your chest, neck, and chin with elbows and forearms and blast you. And most guards weren't willing to sacrifice their bodies like that. But me and Walter Bond, we didn't know anything different. And Walt wasn't no small dude. Walt was 6'5" at the time, like 230. Walt was built like a running back. So it was just the toughness that we acquired playing in the Big Ten that Herb Williams made a point of. And it was interesting. So thank you for that, Curtis. Brandon, Maryland was not in the Big Ten, and Juan Dixon was a problem. He was a problem. He gave nightmares to the ACC. Duke, they didn't want to see him coming. Nobody wanted to see Juan Dixon, Steve Blake. I believe Lonnie Baxter was on that team. Chris, another big, crazy athletic dude. They were a problem. Juan Dixon could score in a phone booth. Quick release. His handles could get him anywhere on the floor he wanted to go to. He was a really sneaky off-ball defender. Like he could guard on ball, but off ball, man, he would shoot passing lanes. He would come from behind and get a steal. He was a tremendous player. One of the best. I think he's one of the best guards the ACC has seen. So he was a major problem. Oh, okay. Brandon saw the interview with Billy McKinney as well. Thank you, Brandon. No, he gave me a lot of love and respect, and it touches my heart. And he does it every time he sees me, and it's not phony. He's one of the better human beings that you get the opportunity to meet. So if any of you all are at a game when he's calling the game, Billy will get there early. If you have the opportunity, go introduce yourself. He is the furthest thing from a jerk. He is as genuine as you find. He got choked up in our interview, and ladies and gentlemen, Brandon and Ron and those people that have seen that interview, that was not fake. That's who he is. He's just one of the best human beings I've ever got to call a friend. So thank you for that. Scoop Hoop saw as well. Thank you for that. Thomas Dagley, tribe member. Thomas says, listen to all these assistant coaches has me worried for the Illini. Thomas, that's funny. And that's good because, everybody's optimistic. No one's lost a game yet. They want to put a positive spin on their players. But it is interesting, isn't it, Thomas? Because when you hear about this talent across the league, I hope that it gets you guys excited. And the tidbits that they gave you when you are going through the college basketball season, this upcoming season, when you're watching Rutgers or Penn State or Purdue or Wisconsin from Sharice Chambliss or Brian James from Northwestern or Nate Linzer from Nebraska or Brendan Taylor from UCLA, you guys are getting insight that unless somebody watched the interview, they're not getting. So you've become way more knowledgeable about some of the matchups that you'll see. And, speaking on that, I hope you guys will consider joining the tribe. Go to bardostribe.com and get your free copy of Triple Threat because it will put you on the newsletter and it will give you the opportunity to become a part of the inner circle that is the tribe, which, there's different levels that you can join on. But there's one level where I'm going to break down key games with the people that sign up for that particular level. So I'm going to give you key insight. And some of you that are betting on the games, I'm just saying there's not a lot of people that have access to the type of information that I do. So, if you're interested, go to bardostribe.com. And not only do you get your free copy of Triple Threat, but you get signed up for the newsletter. And then you can see what's offered at the tribe in terms of going deeper with the connection inside the community that is the tribe. Thank you for that, Thomas. Appreciate you, my man. Thomas is one of the tribe members that showed up at the Champaign Bardo's Breakdown get together, and I loved all the people that came. You guys understand. I hope that we don't need to get this any bigger. I don't necessarily want our tribe or in our circles to get much bigger because I want to develop personal relationships with each and every one of you because that's what makes this tribe so special. That's what makes our community very special because now that I get to know Dory Petzerio's son, Zachariah, is going to work at Amazon and she's extremely proud of it and that she's recovering from a knee replacement surgery, or that, Lynn Holly has an extremely talented son, Hunter Holly, that was my intern this summer. Those type of relationships I can't get trying to make this thing huge. I don't want it big. I love the fact that we have this kind of gathering each and every Monday. It's very, very similar. The same people show up. And I love you all for that. I love you all for that. And I want to get to know you all better. So that's why I encourage you you don't have to join the inner circle that are paid memberships. But if you're on the newsletter, you're in the tribe. And if you know this, tribe members, I'm reaching out to each and every one of you personally because I want a personal relationship with each and every one of you. So thank you very much. And Thomas, that's a good one. That's pretty good. Okay. Carol's got her own personal story about Bill Walton. Ran into Bill Walton in Market Square Arena in 1999. That's where the Pacers play. It's called Gangbridge Arena now, but it's Market Square Arena. Ryan was playing with a small Pacer basketball when Walton came out of his room. Ryan and I ended up getting our picture taken with him. Ryan was bawling. My husband was laughing because at the time I didn't care that much of Walton's color commentary. Yeah, Carol. Bill Walton had a commentary style that you either loved him or hated him. It wasn't very much in between, but boy, was he a hell of a player. Thank you for sharing that story. That's great. Oh, Ann Watson enjoys my photos from Carbondale. Man, let me see if I can pull this up. Because I'll embarrass my sister. Because it's my sister's birthday. Happy birthday, Helen Bardo Levins. I love you. Mwah. Let me see if I can put this on because, oh, shoot. They're not going to let me do it. I was going to try to pull it up. I'd have to do it before the show started. But Ann is referring to a picture that I put up of my brother, sister, and me when we were kids. I must have been 4 or 5 years old. And we're in front of a Christmas tree. And I think I got some binoculars as a present. And man, I think my ears almost fell off. I was smiling so hard. And my sister's on my left and my brother's on my right. And we're all cheesing like, because it's Christmas. So I think that's what Ann is referring to. So thank you, Ann. I appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Okay. Ray says that Duke has clips of their version, Duke's version of Grind Week. I'll have to check that out. Thank you for that. Ray, me and you both, partner. I'm stoked. Think about it, guys. I get a chance to call these games. I get a chance to be one of the voices of Big Ten basketball. And I get to further my relationships with these coaches and bring them on a platform to give them exposure, but yet they give us information that gets us pumped up, Ray. So thank you, man. I appreciate you. And I'm stoked as well. Andrew, yeah, there were early in the show, there was an interview with associate head coach from Rutgers, Brandin Knight. And as you guys know, Rutgers is going to be one of the most anticipated teams in the Big Ten this year because of Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. What's up, Ben Brotz? Do you know if coaches smoke their teams for conditioning anymore? I think they do. They've got, they may not do it as badly as we used to do it because we had, we weren't like, you couldn't officially work out during the summer with your team. You could unofficially do it, and we did it on our own. But it's hard to not have the strength and conditioning coach running you to where you throw up when you're doing conditioning like we used to. Some of us used to throw up because they would smoke us that much in brats. So yeah, I think they don't have to do it as hard because they've got a little bit longer runway up to the season. But they get after them a little bit. They definitely get after them. I know that Wisconsin has a hill. They have a famous hill that these guys run up. And I don't know the cadence. I don't know the frequency, but I do see clips of those guys getting at the top of that hill looking like, man, should I have had that Busch Light last night? Yeah, we did. And Doug, if you talk to members of the Fab Five, they'll tell you they want to play for Illinois because we had that swag. So, got it, Jay. Got it. Okay. Yes, Doug Christie with the Sacramento Kings. Thank you for that. Yes. I don't know that Glenn Rice was on that team. Maybe he was. Oh, you're talking about in terms of one of the best. Yeah, Glenn would definitely. I'd have to maybe take Mike McGee off and put Glenn Rice on there. No doubt about it. Yeah, my bad. My bad. Definitely Glenn Rice. No doubt about it. Roy Tarpley was before his time. Kyrie, 6'10". He pretty much a two guard. He could handle. He could shoot from long range. He could put his back to the basket. He could pass his behind off, and he was one of the elite rebounders in the NBA during his era. He was unbelievable. He had his own demons. He had substance abuse that kind of cut his career and life short. Roy Tarpley was an amazing player. Amazing player. Curtis Dietz has Trey Burke, Manny Harris. See, I had Harris. I was thinking about Manny Harris. He had a tremendous career. Glenn Rice, Rich Wagner, Franz or Mo, and then Chris Webber. All right. Yes, Chris Wilcox was on that national championship team with Juan Dixon and those guys. He was a freak of an athlete, big. No, I didn't play against Ron. I didn't play against MJ in the first or second iteration of him as a Chicago Bull. Those Dixon, Maryland teams had some great games against Duke. Best rivalry games I've seen in a 2-year period. I believe Jay Williams from Duke, I think that was a game where he scored 14 points in 2 minutes to force overtime, I believe, at Maryland. So you're accurate, Curtis. Those are some great games. Thank you, Thomas. I'm glad you guys appreciate those because I think they give you guys insight that no one else is getting outside of our tribe here at Bardo's Breakdown. Carol says, if I can get this up, let's see. Why is my technology tweaking right now? Okay, there we go. Trey Burke, Mike McGee, Glenn Rice, Juwan Howard. Okay. And Cassie Russell. Did you play against Mike McGee or was he a little bit before? Yeah, Mike was before my time, Carol. For those that don't know or remember, Mike McGee was one of the best scorers in Michigan history. He may have ended his career as the leading scorer in Michigan all time. 6'3", power guard, could shoot it, but just he wasn't the quickest. He wasn't the fastest. He didn't jump the highest. He's just one of those guys that had a knack for scoring the basketball. Unbelievable scorer. So I like that 5. Thank you, Carol. I love you too, Ken. And thank you, Carol, for happy birthday to Helen Levins Bardo. I love you. And the tribe, from the tribe, happy birthday, sis. Or Missy. That was a nickname that Dr. Seymour Bryson gave my sister. He used to call her Missy all the time. Oh yeah, Ron. I come from a family of basketball players. My dad played at SIU in 57 to 61. He played I think he tried out semi-pro. I think he tried out with the St. Louis Hawks. My brother played for Bobby Knight at Indiana his freshman year and then transferred to Bradley where he sat out. He never played at Bradley and then transferred to the Citadel where he finished out his career. My sister played junior college basketball at John A. Logan. So yeah, my brother and sister played college basketball, as did my father. So basketball is our family business. So yes. Yes. I couldn't ask for more. I'm a blessed man, Ron. I've been blessed with people opening doors for me. I've been blessed to be born into the family I was born in. And I'm blessed by all of your presence that gives me life and love to bring this show to life. And I've tried to make it better and better incrementally because the value that you all are giving me, I'm trying to reciprocate it back to you guys. Because this is a blast for me to do. This is not work. Sometimes I have to put in work. I have to put in work to prepare, but it's not work. I love answering. This is the best part of the show to me, where I get to talk. I get to interact with you guys. And I don't see a lot of people online doing this with college basketball. I don't know why they don't do it, because to me, this is the best part of the show. You guys are so knowledgeable and you're so excited about this topic, college basketball in general, but Big Ten basketball in particular. And then we can branch out in the NBA every now and then, and we talk different stuff. But I'm blessed. I couldn't ask for any more. So I'm having the time of my life, and you are making it make this platform for me. It's wonderful. So thank you. Doug Peterson. See, these are the regional and cultural things about Big Ten basketball. We're starting to pick corn here in Central Illinois. That tells me the basketball season is not far away. Can't wait. So I think in Michigan, I think here in a week or two, or maybe a couple of weeks, they're going to start picking apples. I think that's something that they do in Michigan. If I know, I've got some Iowa fans on here. What do you do in Iowa right now? Are they picking corn as well? Let me see. Dory, he was a tragic story. He was. I heard a story from when I was with the Dallas Mavericks where Roy Tarpley played the majority of his professional career. Derek Harper, a former Illini great, and Randy White, who was the number 4 pick in the draft that year. He might have been in his second year when I came. Anyway, they were talking. Somehow Roy Tarpley's name came up. And I think Randy said that Roy Tarpley once drank 20 beers, came out later that night, and was 2 assists away from a triple-double. I believe it was against the Denver Nuggets. Imagine that, ladies and gentlemen. He was 4 beers short of a case that he drank early in the day and came out and was so talented that he was 2 assists away from a triple-double. So that's the greatness and the kind of the sadness that Roy Tarpley possessed. Just a tremendous talent, and we lost him too soon. Carroll would sub Tarpley in for Howard. I agree with that. Oh, James Coomer. What's up, James? Good to see you, my man. Did you see the Ramil Robinson 30 for 30? Is he top 5? He was on the 89 team, right? Yeah, he was. Ramil gave me problems, James. Woo, he was tough. Built like a bodybuilder, extremely athletic, hard-headed. And that kind of got him in trouble when he was duping people for their money through his real estate scheme. He ended up serving time in jail. I believe he's out now, but I haven't heard anything about him. But it was a sad state, but it was a crazy 30 for 30. You're right, James. I did see that. I wouldn't say he's top 5 because in terms of a point guard, Antoine Joubert and Gary Grant, I would put those two ahead of and I'd put Jalen Rose ahead of him as well. So I wouldn't have him in my top 5, but boy, he was a player. He was a player. What's up, Captain? Good to see you, my man. Bryce, my dad was my he was one of my youth sports coaches. Very influential, obviously, just being my dad, but he was my hero growing up. I had 2 men I really looked up to. Dr. J, Julius Irving, and my dad. I mean, if my dad stopped walking when I was a kid, my nose would be up his behind because I was tailing him everywhere. He was my idol. He was my hero, and he was one of my early coaches. And he had the presence of mind to know to keep the ball in my hands as a point guard. I think he saw my personality early on, that I didn't mind kind of barking at people, trying to, he saw my competitiveness, and he wanted me to be a point guard. And so even though I grew to be 6'6", I was very comfortable running the point guard position and had leadership skills And most of that was due to his insight and understanding who I was as a person and my personality. He put the ball in my hand. So you're right, Bryce. Thank you for that. Carol, no, my sister's 5 years ahead of me, so she would not have been on the team. But that's interesting. You played against Johnny Logan. That's crazy. Small world. Captain Fletcher, your blast is our education of sports, and we appreciate it. We can heat the passion, and we can hear the passion in your voice. Thanks a million. Thank you, Captain. No, man, I appreciate the love, y'all, because again, I hired a new coach, and think about this. I was trying to do this membership thing and build out this membership and build all this stuff out without a coach. And the guy that I'm starting to work with right now, his name is Vincent Pugliese. And in my initial phone call with him, he shared a story because he's got a fascinating background. But Vince was telling me that Tom Brady had 2 quarterback coaches throughout his career. Now think about that for a second. He'll go down as possibly the best quarterback to ever play the game, maybe the most successful. And he didn't have one, he had 2 quarterback coaches. How in the hell would I even try to do something like this without a coach? It's crazy. I had coaches all my life. Some of my greatest accomplishments came because a coach could push me out of my comfort zone, could see where I needed to go, where I had blind spots. And so I think the inner members of the tribe, they've seen a difference here in like the last week or two of some of the things that I'm doing. And I credit this coach now, Vincent Pugliese, that I'm working with. So thank you for that, Captain. I appreciate you. That's true, Dory. And I haven't worked yet. You know, I work, you know, don't get me wrong. It's not all fun and games. I have to prepare. I have to do certain things, but I'm researching players. I'm researching coaches. I'm researching history of teams. And now I get to have personal relationships with all of you all. How bad? I mean, like, I get to learn about Dory and her son, or Dwight Miller down in St. Petersburg, one of the most successful businessmen in Central Illinois. He's now retired and living in St. Petersburg. I get to go down and visit him not this past July 4th, but the July 4th last time. He throws the best party in St. Petersburg, Florida. It's unbelievable. He's got a live band playing in his big condo that overlooks the Bay of St. Petersburg. These are relationships I get with you guys. Who, I mean, is that work? Hell no. I love it. I love it. Curtis D says, I used to listen to podcasts of other schools, but I don't think they do it anymore. I think that was on the Field of 68 platform, Curtis. AJ Guyton had an Indiana one. Deion Thomas did Champagne on Ice. Devendorf had a Syracuse podcast. I think the Field of 68 has kind of shuffled the deck a little bit, Curtis. But there's room for that, right? There's definitely room. And I think the Illini Inquirer, the Illini guys, they do a really fantastic job of covering Illinois from the standpoint of podcasts and YouTube shows and things of that nature. So there are there's a YouTube channel that does a really good job with Purdue. And guys, these shows, they don't have thousands, they don't have 10,000, 15,000 followers. It's not like that. But they go hyper deep into each of these schools, and they do a really good job. I utilize them for some of my research, Curtis. So I'm with you on that. Roy Tarpley, Cooley High legend, no doubt. Um, yeah, a little bit, Brandon. That's interesting. There are some parallels to that because Michael Ray Richardson got banned from the NBA for repeated cocaine use. He was fortunate enough to go overseas at the twilight of his career. And he might have gotten 10, 12 years in Italy and maybe Greece. I know Roy went overseas a little bit, but I don't think he was able to sustain himself as long as Michael Ray Richardson did. But that's a good comparison, Brandon. Thank you for that. Oh, wow. Yeah, Hoop Baller Scoop. Jay Vincent was on that. Ooh, Jay Vincent, Greg Kelser, Magic Johnson. And maybe maybe Sam Vincent was right behind them, but that was an era of Michigan State basketball that was unparalleled. Brad is talking to Carol Pope. Carol in '86 wasn't Cheryl Miller the best player in the world? She sure got an argument, Brandon. She sure has an argument. Spoon River Cowboy, I hope your new coach limits your Bardo's breakdown drinking to less than 20 beers. Unless you warn us ahead of time, you would be wild enough straight. Love you, man. Love you too, Spoon River Cowboy. Thanks for getting back to me too, man. I appreciate that. You know, no, we're making fun, but no, back in the day, man, I used to love my 40 ounces, my old English 800 back in college. And guys, you know why I used to love my 40 ounces? Because they cost $1.05. And when you're a college student, the 5 cents makes a difference. Right. So, and that stuff had to be poison, ladies and gentlemen, because every time, like, you would think I would have developed a resistance to it, but you could just drink one and get buzzed. If you thought you were fancy and spend $2.10 and drink two of them, you were toast for the night. You were done. So yeah, I had my experience with my beer drinking. I still enjoy my beer, but believe it or not, guys, I'm on I'm always doing fast and stuff. I think is it day 21 or day 22 of no alcohol. I just decided to give my body a break. So day 21, 22 of no alcohol. And believe it or not, I don't miss it. I went home over the weekend and everybody's got their beverage of choice or whatever. And, it's funny what you think about when you have these habits that sometimes for me anyway, I'm only speaking for myself. Sometimes I think like, wow, I'm identified as such. And so how will people view me if I'm, not doing what everybody else is doing? And nobody gives a damn. They don't care. And if you're around people that care about you, they support you anyway. So it's always good to kind of break some of those habits. And I'm in the midst of doing that. And I feel great. Do I miss it? Not really. I don't crave it. I don't miss it. I guess, I'm kind of like Lana Bardo, my mom, when, she decided to quit smoking cigarettes. She went cold turkey and hadn't smoked in decades. So maybe I have a part of my mom's personality, but I'm not quitting cold turkey. I'm going to go back and enjoy beer and wine at some point. But right now, I'm just taking a break. So thank you all. It's been a great show. I want to encourage you all that if you haven't done so, you can sign up for the text group. Text me 312-847-2739 if you want to do that, because I'm reaching out individually to the people that are the 327 members of the text group, if you're more comfortable with that. But if you want to get on the newsletter, hit me up at bardostribe.com. Get your free copy of Triple Threat. There is another guide coming out, the new Big Ten guide. I'm working on it right now. Dang, let me next week I'll take a one of the school pages and I'll post it so you guys can see. The people who are already that are members of the tribe, you're gonna get it. You don't have to sign up for it. I'm gonna send it to all you guys. You'll get it for free. But it's gonna be yet another lead magnet. But it's a fun guide, historical aspects of each school, key non-conference games, great where to go eat, the best bars, all that stuff will be in this new Big Ten guide. I think you guys really enjoy it. But in the meantime, you can join two different ways. Text me 312-847-2739 or go to bardostribe.com. Thank you guys for being a part of the show today. Before I quit, how many years ago did they smoke on the bench? Adolph Rupp. I don't know that you could ever do that in college. They used to do that in the pros. He's talking about coaches. Wow, I have to look that up, Doug. That's a great question. Not sure on that one, but as always, guys, I really appreciate you all sharing your time with me. I know your time is valuable. I know your attention is valuable. Thank you so much for joining Bardo's Breakdown. I love you guys. Happy birthday, Helen. I love you. Peace, y'all.